AskReddit. What's the worst pain you've ever experienced? When I was 11 years old I was at Boy Scout camp, and one of the kids was dicking around with naphtha camp fuel near a fire. His cup of fuel caught fire. He threw the cup behind him, onto my legs. So I'd say 3rd degree burns on my inner thighs would be way up there. Good thing I had underwear on. They had to graft skin form the outside of my thighs to the inside. That wasn't painless post-surgery either. Corneal ulcers. I could feel the insides of my eyes grinding when they're adjusted to light. Always take out your contacts at night to clean them and check when you should replace them. I passed out from pain due to heartburn, ice cream, headache and water going down the wrong pipe, and it paled in comparison to the ulcers. When I played flag football in 8th grade, a gigantic kid tackled me and then stomped on my wrist with his cleats. That shattered my 12-year-old wrist, which I didn't know was possible, but there I was. The pain was quick to develop and then overbearing. My arm burned, as though it were on fire, and my hand was throbbing. My father didn't believe that it was broken, so he tapped it with his fingers. I nearly passed out from the pain and the feeling of things shifting in my wrist. After doing that, and seeing my contorted and sobbing little face, he rushed me off to the hospital. The pain I felt was immeasurable and my day was ruined. A very large bowel movement with an anal fissure. The pain could best be described as having a thumb covered with hundreds of needles jammed into my butthole. One day when I was in 7th grade I woke up and noticed a pea-sized puss pocket had formed on my penis, so I told my parents and they took me to the doctor. The doctor squeezed it until it popped. If you've ever tried to pop a zit that wasn't ready to pop, imagine that but worse in every possible way. I was rushing to cut through a loaf of bread. It was one of those bakery loaves with a thick smooth crust, and when I applied too much force too quickly the serrated knife slid right off the top and onto the side my outstretched finger. The blade cut halfway through the bone and stopped. I then attempted to remove it, but I accidentally twisted the blade as I did so and it slightly pried the two sides of my finger bone apart. The pain was so bad that I immediately threw up onto what would have been a very nice loaf of bread. I'm actually getting quite nauseated recounting this. I had open heart surgery when I was in high school. Unfortunately I ended up with pericardial effusion, effectively a buildup of fluid around the heart, whilst recovering about a month afterwards. I wasn't aware of this until I started to suffer cardiac tamponade, so much blood that the heart starts to struggle under the lateral pressure, which had me vomiting and kind of phasing in and out of consciousness. So, obviously straight to ED they numb me and space me out, but they didn't sleep me. A surgeon then inserted a pigtail device through my chest. This is basically a plastic tube with a curly end. It goes in with a rod in it, then when it's placed, the rod is removed and the end curls, keeping it in place. This was inserted into the pericardial sac to drain fluid. None of this was too painful, even the little semi-conscious surgery. About a week later, I'd had surrendered enough black hard poo that it was ready to come out. I have never experienced anything quite like that thing coming out. The incision it had gone through was tight and a fair bit of blood and so on had dried around it. The nurse started to pull. It honestly felt as if someone had put a screw eye to chest, right in deep, grabbed the head with some pliers, and started going at it. I have never made sounds like I did that day, not before, not after. There was what felt like hours of her pulling and tugging until another nurse walked in, pushed her out of the way, gave it a huge violent twist resulting in an audible crack, then whipped it out in one smooth motion. I think that's the worst and the most relieved I've ever felt in my life, all within a couple of minutes. I had surgery to remove a pilonidal abscess, a small hole or tunnel in the skin. The abscess itself was pretty damn painful, but worse than that was the following day. At the time, the accepted treatment after surgery was to pack them with gauze and change it daily so it could heal from the inside out. Day after surgery, the doctor comes to take a look, grabs one end of the gauze and basically rips it out quickly in one go. I should probably also mention I'd not been given any pain medication that morning. I nearly swore the whole ward down. After having brain surgery removing a benign tumor from my brain, I couldn't sleep for about 5 days after. The 5th day I was experiencing a level of exhaustion that will probably be the worst pain I've felt in my life. I was pumped up on pain suppressant meds, so I couldn't exactly feel your classic sense of pain, other than a strong pulsing sensation in the back of my head where my tumor was removed. Rather it took form in feeling just utterly dead inside. Imagine being so tired that you don't even have the energy to think about being tired. It's like you're stuck in a vacuum and there is no way out but to sit quietly and wish for it to be over. Gallbladder attack woke me up from a dead sleep and I was in the air within 20 minutes. While waiting to get admitted, I basically curled up into a ball and lay on the floor just wanting to die. Someone finally noticed how bad off I was and let me cut in front of the dozens ahead waiting. It took two back rounds of pain meds to get it under control. A few hours later, I was in surgery to have my gallbladder removed. I've had my knee fracture and dislocate behind my leg. I've had kidney stones and I've been through spinal surgery. Nothing compared to that gallbladder attack. Complete hell on earth. I got an abscess in my tooth while in Italy. No dentist there wanted to deal with it, and as I was coming home in 2 days, so I decided to call my dentist at home and arrange to go to him straight off the plane. I really can't describe the pain. It was terrible. While on the plane, the air pressure seriously fucked me up and nearly drove me mad with the pain. When I landed, I went straight to the dentist. My face was super inflamed and swollen, and he said he'd only ever seen cases like mine in drawings from Victorian England. He explained that he had to drill through the infected tooth to the root and that would relieve the pressure immediately. I'd hear a gas escaping, and then pus would come out. The worst bit was he said he couldn't give me an anesthetic because putting a needle into the swollen gum would just cause it to tear, so he'd have to drill into the tooth to the root without giving me any pain relief. The good news, he said, would be that I wouldn't feel the pain of the drill compared to the pain I was feeling already. He was right. I only felt the drill as a vibration. When he hit the infection under the root, the pain stopped immediately. I heard the gas escaping, and I felt the pain of the drill. I almost cried with relief. Perirectal abscess, collection of pus in the deep tissue surrounding the anus. It had grown immensely huge and stayed there for about a month before bursting. My lower half basically shut down during the time because the pain was so horrible. I didn't piss or shit for weeks. Getting out of bed took hours. I remember trying to get out of the bathtub once by sitting up first, and it was so painful that I slipped, hit my head against the bathtub, and screamed loud enough to wake the dead. It's a surreal experience to hear yourself scream, but not feel it in your throat. After it burst, my flesh had rotted away, leaving a hole in my ass that was at least an inch deep. I could feel my bone. Then came sepsis. It's weird to feel your blood hurt. It felt like a snake had bitten me, that there was venom in my blood everywhere. Still, my parents had forced me to attend school with the injury. I was trying to get to class when I just fell down in the hallway, unable to move. After the surgery, I couldn't walk without a cane for 7 months. Once when I was about 12, I'd just returned from hockey practice with my dad. My mom was parked in the driveway and was unloading groceries from the family van. My dad asked me to help, got my brother from inside the house to do the same, and off we went. Now, I'm one of 4, and in a house of 6 people there are a lot of groceries. We were maybe 3 trips worth of groceries into this thing when we started getting bored. My brother spotted this massive watermelon in the back of the van, and we began tossing it back and forth, alternating dancing and catching the watermelon. This went on maybe 4 or 5 times as we slowly got closer to the front door. I yelled for my brother to throw the melon once more, and he did. He threw it really high this time, I assume, thinking it was funny. The melon went up, the melon came down, and as I caught it, I felt this horrific pain in my hand. I began to tremble. The watermelon skin had shot under my middle fingernail. Imagine a hand with a green fingernail. I was writhing in pain. My brother told me to calm down because some was still sticking out, and he was going to try to remove it. It broke off. It was stuck. I had to go to the hospital and have my fingernail removed to get it out. I hadn't showered after hockey, so my mom told me I had to before she'd take me to the hospital. It was the most horrific hour of my life. 7 years ago, I woke up with this extreme pain in my back. I couldn't place it. It felt like it was my entire back. I had some tests done and got opinions from a couple of doctors, and before long, I was told it was a cancerous hemangioma on my T4 vertebrae of my spine. I had a number of MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, blood work, etc. It was official, and I had no clue how to chew that. The doctors said it was operable. The head surgeon on orthopedics was the one who operated on me. He cut it out, and I had a bone grafting done in its place. After the anesthesia wore off, I awoke to the most painful sensation ever. Nothing felt better, it only felt worse. For years, I've been doing physical therapy, but to no avail. I've been to doctors again, but they can't explain the pain. To this day I'm still plagued by it.